This is a very special webinar where we're going to have our two foremost sports scientists talk about their recent research and actually their past history with KAATSU. So I don't know how Chris with the KAATSU hat and Pete with the non-KAATSU hat are lined up on your screen. But I'll start off with Pete. Pete is a was a defensive lineman, Division One school, tough guy, big guy, but he's got a very gentle heart. He has been a KAATSU advocate and teacher for many years now. He recently did a variety of stuff on the academic front that we're going to actually allow him to explain himself. And then Chris, he is our Olympic coach. He received his PhD from the University of Lausanne. Chris is actually pretty interesting because he's ranged his range in coaching Olympic athletes goes from swimming to bobsled to the basketball to track and field, from sprints to distance. So he's a very his scope of work is very wide. What I'd like to do before we start and have you explain what your recent research was on both sides. Pete, start off, give a little bit of back bio to yourself. Don't be shy. And then followed by Chris, and then we'll go into explaining your own research, and then we'll open up to questions. So go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, so I played football in high school and then played football in college. So I have some injuries that I've been working through. I'm 46 now. I still work out every day. I started using KAATSU in 2020, and I was having some issues with some back, knee, elbow, and I found KAATSU to be something that I loved because I felt it right away. I could lift at a lower load and still get the same stimulus as if I was lifting heavier. So I was able to work out more. I felt better after, and I was able to work through a lot of injuries. And some of my injuries that were nagging me, like my golf elbow, was healed in about 6 weeks, and before it had been nagging me for like 4 months. And that's when I met and started meeting with Steve and talking with Chris regularly. And at that time, I work as a personal trainer in Newport Beach, and I started implementing it to my practice right away, and my clients loved it. And my most of my clientele is in the age range from 50 to my oldest client is 82. And so I use it, I would say, with 80+% of my clients, and it's worked really well. And because of the metabolic stress that it provides with muscle mass and hypertrophy and recovery, a lot of other benefits, but less mechanical load. So they're able to work out at a lower load and still feel great after. And they've been able to achieve their goals. And it's something that I love, and I use it. I use it personally daily. And like I said, it's been a really great tool for me to use at my practice.
Great. And then you did mention your a specialty in nutrition, which I think is a very interesting and useful combination with Katsu.
Absolutely, yeah. So a lot of my clients, yeah, it's fun educating them on not only KAATSU but how to get properly hydrated. I mean, electrolytes, and I implement my nutrition with all my clients. I'm always talking about that for recovery. So with proper protein intake and fiber, carbohydrates, fats, etc. But more, it's fun to talk and deal with different clients with different goals. Most of them are. A lot of clients are with weight loss, but recently, over the past couple of years, with people gaining interest in how important it is to gain muscle, that's where KAATSU has really come into play. But I can pair that up with nutrition for performance and just overall quality of life. So it's been a great tool to align with nutrition and my practice and training.
Great. And Chris, you've been on this webinars before, but for those of you who don't know your background, just give us a little bit of your Katsu journey.
Oh yeah, thank you, and it's nice to see you, Pete. We did not do a dress code. It's just that Pete and I both like baseball caps. So Yeah, so many people have kind of heard my journey, but I'll share it again in a little bit different sort of, which relates to why I decided at, I think, what was it, Stephen, at 52 years old to go back to school and get a PhD was I've always been interested in sort of outside of the box thinking, not only as an athlete, I was, of course, a swimmer, as you were, Steve. All three of us have some strong relationships to swimming on this screen right here. But I always, even as a swimmer, was interested in tools not to make the workout easier, but to make it actually more challenging. And when I met Stephen, I'd lived in Europe for 15 years, was all into coaching. I did my master's degree also in Switzerland in basically what we would translate to human biomechanics. So even during that period, I had an advisor. And Stephen, you might not even know this. This gentleman, Pete, was incredible. His name is Jean-Pierre Egger. He was the coach of a Swiss shot putter named Werner Gunther, who was world champion, three-time Olympian, never won the Olympic gold, but won couple world titles. But his coach, this gentleman I mentioned, who was my advisor, was always into, he called it toys for performance. And he would think of these crazy concoctions of stretch cords with resistance assistance and mostly for track and field. But he also worked with a lot of swimmers, this gentleman. So fast forward to when I met Stephen at Harvard in 2012. I was the women's varsity coach at Harvard and saw Stephen putting these what looked to be bands on the arms of an injured swimmer. It was a open water swimmer. I'm sure I can share his name, Stephen, right? It's okay. With 2012 Olympian Alex Meyer, who you might have not, or Pete, you might have not never even heard this story. And as soon as I saw Stephen working with Alex, I said, "Wow, that's cool. Let me go start talking to him." And that was just a hello to Stephen turned into a complete life-changing event where we started implementing KAATSU with the varsity team, not only for injuries, but for performance. And then I think, Steve, the catalyst for me that I've shared, but I'll share again in a shorter version, is I was training myself. I had just recently turned 40 at that time. And there's one of these obstacle course events here, Pete. We call them Tough Mudders or Spartan races. I don't know what they call them out on the West Coast,
No, yeah,
but
I've run them on myself.
yeah, and it was on the very last. So I had been working with Stephen for just a few weeks, and it was the summer of 2012. I had an accident on the very last obstacle. I was 12 miles in, and I slipped and fell, and I landed on my side. It was basically this grease pole that you had to climb over, and I slipped and fell. And the only major injury I've had in my entire life was a broken rib, and that was way back in the early 2000s. So when I slipped and fell, I heard a crack, and I thought, "Oh no, I think I broke a rib again." But I finished. I had to just one more obstacle, and we're all adults here. So the biggest celebration was that at the end of this race, it was sponsored by Dos Equis, and they give you a free beer at the end. So I guzzled that one just because I was in so much pain and I had a couple more. So that was on a Saturday. Stephen knows this, that on the Sunday, I took myself to the local hospital here in Boston, just the Mount Auburn here in Boston. It's near Cambridge, and lo and behold, I had two fractured ribs. One was pretty significant, and the other one was just a hairline fracture, but really uncomfortable. I had been working with Stephen and another very important person in my journey, which was Mr. Shimizu, who was a disciple of Dr. Sato, who's the inventor of Dr. Yoshiaki Sato, who we've all heard about on these webinars. So I couldn't even move and said I couldn't do KAATSU at the training session. And they said, "No, you need to do it more." So Mr. Shimizu encouraged me to do it twice a day. And I probably ended up doing it 4 times a day. 8 days later, I convinced a training staff at Harvard to do an X-ray, and I didn't tell them why because they didn't know about my injury. And the doctor who looked at my X-ray said, "Well, you broke a rib, but it must have been, an old fracture." And because it was only 8 days, that was my aha moment where I knew that KAATSU helps for healing. And then after that, just so many anecdotal stories, Stephen, that I could share about me seeing these small little, people would call them little miracles. And it's not really miracles. It's just really, once you understand the science, that KAATSU accelerates the healing, especially I believe in the cycle mode. And then, like Pete mentioned, the way we can couple it with nutrition and low load and work with the population of people like my mom, who's 83, who uses KAATSU. Stephen, your parents who are in their upper 80s, even I think your dad might be close to 90 now. So yeah, that's sort of a nutshell, quick why I then decided to go on this final journey recently, Steve, and receive a PhD. Stephen, you're muted again, Steve. You're muted.
Sorry, you both have so many other things, but that's a good overview. I'd like now for both of you to dive into your latest dissertations. Sort of give us a broad overview of why you wanted to do your research and dissertation on the topics that you chose, and then what was it, and what were the conclusions, and what might you want to do in the future. So just sort of a summary and why would be great. Go ahead, Pete.
So I chose my doctorate dissertation. It was a systematic review. It was comparing blood flow restriction training to conventional resistance training for addressing anabolic resistance in adults over 50. And I chose this topic. I felt it applied right to my practice, but I also feel that this is a age group and this population where this becomes more and more important, especially with the knowledge now about the importance of muscle for longevity, performance, posture, etc. So I analyzed, it came down to in my systematic review to four studies that randomized human control trials, and it ended up totaling 132 participants ranging from 59 to 80. And in my study, the main finding was that BFR training at just below load, like we were talking about, 20 to 30% of one rep max, produced equivalent strength gains to conventional training at higher loads of 60 to 80% of one rep max. And the important finding with zero adverse events across all BFR groups. Hypertrophy results were still positive in healthy older adults, but less pronounced in those with advanced sarcopenia. And then one important note for this audience is that none of the studies use KAATSU devices. I believe there was like an H2 plus cuff, and there was another one, the Hutchinson's, two devices I've never heard, and two others didn't disclose what the devices were. And all used would be equivalent to the constant mode of KAATSU occlusion only. So these results were achieved without the cycling protocol that KAATSU pioneered, which is important to note, which raises an interesting question about additional benefits that if they use KAATSU approach that may offer on top of what the research already shows. So
Yeah.
that was the study that I did, and it just applied right to my practice. Now, if I was to do it all over again, I would love to actually run my own study at my gym and have and do all the protocols, and that would have been a lot more interesting to me. But it did show like a good benefit, and it showed that it is beneficial to use a blood flow restriction at lower loads, and it's just as beneficial as using a higher load. So that was what my study was, and I was excited for the results. But like I said, I would have loved to have done a more hands-on approach.
Yeah. Um, uh, I've read different things. You and Chris are at a level that is quite high level, but can you explain to people, what is a one rep max, and why is that important to compare to different findings in your world?
Yeah, so
Just very basic. Yeah.
one rep max repetition is important because you want to train at a high enough volume so you can elicit a protein synthesis response to build muscle. And so it's important to know someone's one rep max so then you can gauge the protocols of your exercise routine that you're going to do with that client. And the importance of that of comparing higher load of 70 to 80% of one rep max is going to break down muscle tissue a lot more compared to a lower load. So, and showing that that's a mechanical stress. So if you can lighten the mechanical stress on an older individual and still elicit the same response at a lower load, then that's a really important finding because not only is the adherence going to be higher, but also the results.
Got it. And do you find when when you're training your clients, again, older, that they enjoy lifting lighter, or sometimes they want to lift heavy? What is their feelings toward the kind of workouts that you're now giving with KAATSU or non-KAATSU?
That's a great question because it depends on the client. You know, of course, you have the male clients who really want to lift the heavier load, and a lot of times I have to back them down because I'm adding a KAATSU pressure. But what's fun is I can play around with the rep ranges, and then I can go back and retest without the KAATSU, and they can see that the progress that they've made. Other clients don't want to put in as much effort, so then applying the KAATSU, they can still get more of a benefit, which is great as well. It's been a great tool for me because I can work with the client and take them where they're at in their training protocol and help them progress that right along. So a lot of my male clients in the 50 ranges want to train really hard. So I can do one day of mechanical stress with them, and then the next time do a KAATSU. So I can really
Ah,
play around, and it helps me design a better routine that's better for recovery and performance.
yeah. Very interesting. And if you had to, you mentioned that the older male clients like to lift a little bit heavy to test themselves where they
Sure.
are. What about your older female clients
So
in,
once, yeah,
generality?
yeah. So once they get comfortable with the KAATSU and they know how it feels, they like and like you've brought up to me many times too. So some of those clients that have an athletic background knows what it feels like to train hard. So that first that muscle burn when you're going up a little bit higher rep ranges is sometimes maybe a little intimidating because they're like, wow, this is like a lot of work. But after a while, they get used to how it feels, and then they get the results too as well.
Got it. Got it. And what about your older clients? We have four bands, two on the arms and two on the legs. Do you see any differences in general between use or liking cuts on the arms versus the legs?
Yeah, I do. The naturally the women like using the legs more. Men like using the arms. But as they progress along, because typically what I'm doing is like you've taught me, is start low with the arms and then go legs and back to the arms. So I get them comfortable using both. But I find the adherence to both the arms and the legs with both female and male high because again, if you take them through the right protocol, then they feel comfortable with both.
Yeah, yeah. And what do you do for the core with your clients?
So I don't do a lot of sit-ups. I'll do different movements, full body movements. I mean, a lot of the movements you do, just core bracing works the core with almost all the movements. But I'll do more of like side planks and using like a stability ball for doing like a movement plank on there. But a lot of the core we do like a Pallof press, which was the core holding from like a horizontal. So like anti-rotation movements, rotation movements per core, but a lot of it is just core bracing within like a deadlift or a squat or a row. A lot of unilateral stuff too as well. So I just implement core along with different, which would be called like functional movements, I would say.
Got it. And then with your clients, do you do much cardio, or is cardio incorporated in there?
Cardio is incorporated. Certain clients I'll do more of faster bursts at the end. Other clients I'll do a little bouts of cardio in between. So I do definitely implement cardio, but a lot of the times I'll do um, most of the resistance exercise toward the beginning of the workout, and then we can do a little bit of cardio, moving down to different exercises, whether it's like 30 to 60 seconds, taking a little bit of a break, and then going to repeat, whether it's interval or not. But I definitely implement cardio in there too as well.
Yeah. And then when you're doing all this stuff, how much of an explanation, education are you providing your clients?
I like to talk about it all throughout until they really understand the benefits because I've found that the early on, the clients that I didn't give enough of an explanation, they don't understand. And if you understand and all of the benefits, I mean, starting from what you taught me with the cardiovascular benefits of the capillaries, arteries, and veins, and how you have the hormones, the VEGF that helps make that more elastic. So you have more oxygen to your limbs, better skin health, and then taking it on from there, which is the stimulus of the lactate pooling in the limb, sending a signal to the brain to produce more HGH and hypertrophy, strength, and all that kind of stuff. So, and I will continue to talk to them about it because they always will have questions, even like you taught me too, like with a cycle mode, they always feel like they have to wait for the cycle to start to fill up. And so all of that education is really important, especially for my clients that want to see more of the results is using KAATSU at home and doing little short workout bouts, whether it's like walking up the stairs or doing the dishes with KAATSU or even having bands at home and just doing like a couple cycles. You can get a lot of bang for your buck with just shorter workout bouts as too. And I've seen really good results with that. And I found that my clients that follow that protocol and use the KAATSU more often see fantastic results. So I educate them on, no, this isn't about like working harder, just about working smarter, and you can get great results with it.
Yeah. Maybe give one or two examples of your clients that have your like mind-blowing results or mind-blowing changes.
Yeah, so I have he's 77 and I trained him 3 times a week. And I wish I would have done like an in-body with him, but he was really consistent and he was had a background of training. And so I started him off once a week and then twice a week and then 3 times a week. And so we were doing higher rep and I felt comfortable with him going more high reps to failure, going up in the 20 to 25, 30 plus rep range. And so we were doing upper body, lower body, core. But he saw significant results. Like people were asking him, like, what are you doing? And he was 77. He was walking around with a tank top on after a couple of weeks. So he was
That's
great.
cool.
And I also have a female client, um, and she was wearing it at home, washing the dishes, laundry. She would, like you told me, going for walks on the beach as well, doing steps. And she was coming in twice a week, and she gained muscle, and her body composition completely changed. So she was one of the clients that was really into the education. And but yeah, I mean, there's all kinds. Like my parents have used it quite a bit. So a lot of my clients that have used it consistently have really enjoyed the benefits of it.
Great, great. And Chris, you did your dissertation with a very interesting advisor that actually sort of went full circle from Harvard to University of Lausanne and back. Can you explain first what was your thesis on, and then why did you go in that direction?
Yeah, well, so that is interesting. So I think it's sort of started with wanting to do something with KAATSU, right? And specifically, Pete spoke about more of what is considered more of the generic term, which is BFR, blood flow restriction. But in the research, there is a significant amount of research out there. But because I had learned, from sort of the original, from reading about work and learning about KAATSU, I wanted it to be really KAATSU specific. And for me, what was specific to KAATSU, as Pete mentioned, was the KAATSU cycle. So for me, that was the first thing, is I really wanted it to be specific with the KAATSU cycle, um, because I had spent so many years in Switzerland, and as you mentioned, we have a common friend who we both met in Boston. His name is Dr. Aaron Bagish, and he actually is a world-renowned cardiologist. And he moved to Switzerland several years ago, and so it made sense for me to try to get back to school, even though I was living here in the States. So I managed to do a little bit of convincing some people and doing the appropriate paperwork to then, Pete, take quite a long break between my master's degree, and it was about 15 years. So so then when I got real specific about what I wanted to study, I knew that cardiac rehab was something. When we think about muscle, right, Pete, and we think about muscle building, I think a lot of people, what they don't realize is a really important muscle is their heart. And so for me, cardiac people tend to get a little, when they think about anything that's restrictive, and we tiptoe around that word restrictive, blood flow restriction, right? And that's why in our world, Stephen, we always refer to it as, because we know it's more of a modification or a moderation of blood flow. It's very gentle and very almost very kind and very comfortable. So I wanted to bring people's attention to two things. One was the cycle mode, and one was that you can, with actually some pretty extreme cardiac events in people's past, whether it's post heart attack, whether it's an electrical situation or a plumbing situation, right? When we talk about post cardiac rehab, or simple angina. So we have um, several different post cardiac, and I wanted to show people the safety of using KAATSU post cardiac episode. And not only can you do it, you can do it safely, and actually it could be beneficial. So that was my hypothesis, and fortunately, it worked out. I could share quickly my screen if you wanted, Steve, to show my little slide if you think that's good. I see you nodding yes, so I'll share. And Pete, I'll just show you quickly. I'll go through this quick, Steve, so we can get to questions.
Okay.
But, let's see if I share. Hopefully, this works. Just Stephen, let me know if it's working.
Yep. Yep. Good.
Uh, okay, let me just see if I can start the slideshow here. Uh, View slideshow. Okay, hopefully this will work. Is that working, Steve?
Yes. Very nice.
Okay, so this is just a little. This is just a little slideshow I put together for people to see. So we studied the really exercise, Pete. So you talked also about how important exercise is, but with KAATSU Cycle as a rehab tool. So, purpose, hypothesis, study group, history, results. This is just what I'm showing you today. I did, everything was originally in French, so I put it into English, just because it was in a French-speaking part of the world. So again, the purpose was, I have to hide myself there. Main purpose was twofold. One, as I mentioned, was to show that exercise is important in cardiac rehab, but that the KAATSU cycle could be helpful, and could the KAATSU cycle alone show some benefit. So we'll talk about that here in a second. Next slide. Again, I'll fast forward through some. So again, my hypothesis was that, as we all know, cardiac rehab is most benefited with exercise. I believed, and my team believed, that KAATSU cycle would enhance some of the variables. And though it wasn't the primary goal, I really wanted to, rather than having I had to convince a lot of people, but rather than having a control group, my control group was just doing KAATSU cycle without exercise. So just passive KAATSU cycles. So we did, 43 males were pre-selected either from heart attack, myocardial infarction, coronary artery bypass, um, angioplasty or stenting. Stephen, we can talk about that. Just chronic chest pain or heart valve repair replacement. So they were just randomly selected from those categories. They had to pass some other parameters as well. And we ended up with 8 individuals were in the exercise only group, 8 were with KAATSU Cycle and exercise. And then we actually had 7 that was what I would call the control group, but it was just using the KAATSU Cycle. I'll fast forward to the history because we've all been on these webinars and know, but I'll just leave that slide up. So these are just some of the history, Stephen, that a lot of us who are on here today already know about some of the history of KAATSU, but there was a large population study at the University of Tokyo, but I want to get to, so this is just the mechanism of KAATSU, what you mentioned, Pete, about really the release of VEGF and the importance of how KAATSU can help exercise your vascular system as well. So simple terms, blood leaves your heart, travels through your arteries to muscles and organs, returns to the heart through your veins, and that return is called the venous return. So the KAATSU air bands allow for lighter loads, as you mentioned, Pete. Again, I'm fast forwarding through the mechanism of what KAATSU is. These are where we put the KAATSU bands. And so here is the study, Steve. So we did over 14 weeks. I did include a control group, even though we didn't have one, just because for aesthetics, I wanted people to see that we didn't use a control group. Our control group was KAATSU only. So and just those that went to completion. So we had one person who didn't go through completion of the exercise in KAATSU. So we, as I wrote here in yellow, we avoided a sham group and instead used a KAATSU only group.
Chris, oh, I
Yes.
see. No, go ahead.
Yeah.
I
So
noticed the next slide. Go ahead.
this is what we did. We had a 12-minute walk. We had a 10-minute bike. We had 2 resistance exercises with one was with free weights and one was with a resistance band. It was with some resisted band squats, and we did some dumbbell bicep and tricep curls. We did a cognitive test, Stephen, that was just questions pre and post exercise, that we just, same questions every time before and after those exercises. It just gave us another variable with some different cognitive questions. Not only, it wasn't more about reaction, but it was more about feel and how they felt before and after. And then we did some physiological, which was blood tests. So we took blood. These poor individuals were pricked a lot, and so I can't yet. We're still waiting for releases from the patients. I'm waiting for all. So once we do that, I certainly, when I actually publish my paper, people will find. But it was very encouraging. So the results of the summary are here, just in written form. That exercise is the most common form of cardiac rehab when the protocols are followed by the patient. By adding the KAATSU cycle, we witnessed an improvement in all parameters as compared to exercise only. So we had strength increases, we had better cognitive results, and it was almost 100% small in some individuals, slightly larger, but we did have an almost 100% improvement in those parameters with exercise and KAATSU. And interesting is with people who did KAATSU only, not only it was safe and effective, but we had some very positive results that compared to exercise only. So conclusions, and I'll talk about this picture in a little bit. Everyone, see if you recognize the individual in this picture. But what we determined, the conclusions, again, cardiac rehabilitation involving exercises and modality, with controlled protocols and expert persons. The KAATSU cycle is safe and effective means of aiding with cardiac rehab. KAATSU cycle in a standalone situation without exercise, where maybe due to injury or age, or Pete, as you saw, as we're aging, people just can't lift heavy weights. It can be uh, a very good addition to someone's cardiac rehab. And Stephen, you did ask the question, what did it open up? And for me, it opened my eyes that KAATSU cycle not only for cardiac rehab, but brain function, nervous system disorders, post-menopausal effects, and I'm sure Pete, with some of your female clients, you've seen some, and I think we both have a common friend that we know you work with who's had some interesting post-menopausal positive results. So. References. I won't bore anyone with that. And yeah, so I'll stop sharing my screen, Stephen, here. And yeah, so that was it in a quick nutshell, Steve. I do
Yeah.
want to say that, and hopefully if you allow me to share. So Pete, I don't know if you recognize that picture, but um, we did, have a situation with someone close to us all on this screen. And, for me, the great thing, Stephen, that I was inspired by you is that KAATSU, after your cardiac situation, actually we saw without a doubt by your doctors and what we've seen that KAATSU probably could have uh, been one of the major keys to your rehabilitation.
Correct. Absolutely correct. So, yeah, so now what we've seen is the groundbreaking work that Dr. Sato and Dr. Nakajima did at the University of Tokyo Hospital was replicated actually and expanded with your comparison or inclusion of the cut cycle in your study in Switzerland. So that's very cool. Very cool. I know we sort of skipped over a bunch of things, but I think we'll both of you will be able to add more information. I know that Jake has raised his hand, and Jake, the floor is yours if you would like to ask a question. Let's see. You can unmute yourself. Go ahead, Jake. Okay, we'll move to Anna and Jake. We'll get back to you if you unmute. Go ahead, Anna.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, here's my husband.
Hi,
And
guys.
I don't know if you can
Hi.
hear us. Okay, he
Hi.
has a very good question following up the cardiac um progress that you've been seeing. So here he goes.
Well, I just wanted to ask you guys. I experienced a deep vein thrombosis about 8 years ago and a pulmonary embolism about a year after that. I wanted to know if KAATSU would be effective for me or not effective, or if it would harm the problems I have with my veins, which are, the scarring in my veins from the thrombosis. I'm on Xarelto as a blood thinner right now. And I just don't know how you guys are really knowledgeable. Maybe you have some experience with this.
Yeah, so I'll address the question. Obviously we're not physicians, we're not
Cool.
cardiologists, although we work with them.
Sure.
We have a variety of information. It's actually posted on our website
Perfect.
that the first thing we always recommend is that you speak about KAATSU with your cardiologist. Now,
Sure.
here in the United States, 99.9% of cardiologists won't know what KAATSU is, and therefore we provided the information.
Perfect.
Once they have the information, I think a lot of reticence and worries about KAATSU go away. And the reason why is um, almost all humans, when they see these bands around the arms, they automatically assume the KAATSU bands equals a tourniquet or blood pressure cuff. And obviously, any cardiologist, any physician, any healthcare professional would say, hey, if you've had an embolism, if you had deep vein thrombosis, do not put a blood pressure cuff or tourniquet around any part of your body. And that's a very valid response. However, how we explain is that we're not impeding any blood flow into your arms or your legs with KAATSU. That was the entire purpose of Dr. Sato and Dr. Nakajima, the cardiac and the cardiology team in Japan. That was the entire premise of them studying KAATSU in the very first place. And that's why when I had my own widowmaker heart attack, and
Yeah.
with my own cardiologist, I asked him, "Hey, doctor, I've studied this for 13 or at that point 16 years
Mhm.
under cardiologist. I'd like to do this on myself." And he said, "No how, no way. You're not going to do that. It's dangerous. Don't do that." But I balanced that with the fact that he assumed it was impeding blood flow into my arms, which it was not. It does not. And therefore, what it does is it engorges. So the blood goes in normally. And when the bands are inflated, the bands they compress the vein. And then the blood is engorged in the arms or
Right.
legs. And in this case, we have to also understand that every human on this planet has about 60,000 miles of capillaries if
Correct.
we line them up end to end in our body. So we have a lot of capacity to engorge blood in our limbs. Now, when we do katsu, our palms become uh, pink or rosy, and it's a very gentle way to modify the blood flow, as Chris and Pete explained.
Right.
Now, with people who have cardiac issues or um, problems that they've had in the past, we explain to their physicians, if they have interest, is that all we're doing is temporarily for 30 seconds slowing down or modifying the blood flow back to the heart,
Right.
and we're engorging the vascular tissue in blood. We're not raising the heart
Right.
rate. I mean, you could raise your heart rate if you're doing something aerobic like,
Sure.
jogging or doing burpees or something. But
Exactly.
what we do with the cardiac rehab patients is very gentle movements. Sometimes it's just opening and closing their hands.
Sure.
Sometimes it's a very slow paced walk, depending on where you are in your uh, cardiac recovery. And so when we explain the gentle nature of katsu and the fact that we aren't pushing the body, especially our cardiovascular system, we're not pushing the body to any extreme. Far from it, very
Right.
far from it. And so in your case, I cannot speak specifically to you. What I can offer is that if you have any interest, the very first thing you should do is raise the issue of using Katsu with your cardiologist.
Sure.
But we can provide you with a one sheeter that you can take with you, and you can show and explain to your cardiologist what KAATSU is and what it can do. And then if he or she has any specific questions, they can always email us, they can
Sure.
always call us, and we will explain or we'll try to answer their questions as best we can.
Sure. Well, you guys are so knowledgeable. I appreciate it. I know we have your website, so it's a. Excuse me, Anna, can you help? I'm just wanted to say thank you so much. I
Okay.
I hate to say that I've read that there's quite a few people in my condition. Now, my condition happened years ago, but with the rise of COVID, there seems to be some kind of cases that have been picking up similar kinds of cases with people. You guys might encounter more of this same question. And I don't know because you're doctors, basically, the two of you guys, I mean, basically you guys are really fantastic. I mean, I'm not trying to butter you up or anything, but you explained so well. You've done so much research. And Europe, I know, is a bit ahead. You talked about Switzerland, but I think they understand this better there. And I will be talking with a doctor there probably in the next 2 or 3 months. I go over there every so often. So I'm going to get both sides of the pond and get some opinions about this. I hope it works for me.
Yeah.
I do very minimal work. I mean, I do work, but I don't work out a lot. I'm excited to use this. I think I will go ahead and use it on advice from physician, and I'm not expecting you guys by any means to, it's not your responsibility. So I appreciate you explaining it quite well to me.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Well, believe me, that we get questions about uh, use of KAATSU with people who have had cardiac issues
Mhm.
every single day, multiple times a day. It is absolutely our number one inquiry,
Sure.
year round from people of all ages. And I think I'd like to end this with you. We have a patent, our core patent, and the patent is actually I forget the exact title, but it is compression and a system to compress and decompress the vascular tissue in order to strengthen it. That that is the passion. Yes,
Yeah.
we can build muscle. Yes, we can have different cognitive improvements, but our core pattern is strengthening of our vascular tissue, and so we pride ourselves on that. Dr. Sato and Dr. Nakajima did very groundbreaking work, and we do that because Dr. Sato and Dr. Nakajima are in Japan. They are facing the oldest population in human history.
Yes, I do too.
And therefore they are literally, if you think about it, about 20 years ahead of the United States in terms of the demographic situation.
Exactly.
And so they're facing what all, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 63. They're facing what I will face when I'm 83.
Right.
And therefore, everything they've done has been at the point of being gentle, safe, and this is very, very important, conveniently effective. Because Dr. Sato knows that at the end of the day, we would rather do something that's convenient and gentle rather than vigorous and hard. Yes, you might be a competitive athlete. Yes, you might be a type A alpha male, but most of the people we want to make katsu convenient and gentle. And if when we make things convenient and gentle combined with safe and effective, then people will do katsu on a daily basis. And it's that frequency of modifying the blood flow that leads to all these beneficial results.
Well, thank you. I'll stay in touch
Okay.
with you guys. You might want to know
Okay.
more
Great.
down the
Great.
road.
Okay. Thank you. Um, let's see, Jake, you have the floor again if you would like to say something. And if not, I'm going to move to Anna. Anna, the floor is yours.
Oh, yes, and thank you again. I'm just John's wife, but just
Oh,
wanted,
I see. Good.
when do you get that sheet that you were mentioning so we could share it with our
Uh,
doctors? Nothing else, so that they know that this exists and that could be beneficial for a lot of patients.
yes. Just email at info at
Mhm.
katsu.com,
Okay,
and then we'll have that for you.
okay, very good. Thank
Okay.
you so much. I
Thank you.
really appreciate
Okay.
it, and I'm looking forward. I already have the equipment, but I wanted to listen to you first before we started using.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Clyde, you're up. Clyde, the floor is
Okay.
yours.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes, I can.
A comment. I've been trying to buy a unit for over a week. I've emailed 3 times. I've called 3 times. No one responds. Um,
Okay.
all right. And then I think Chris could probably help me with these other two. Uh, I treat a lot of people with that are have AFib and are on blood thinners.
Hmm.
Uh, is that safe, or do they really have to go to see their cardiologist?
We believe it's safe. I think the proof is in the pudding. We did before we even launched in the United States in 2014. We did KAATSU on over 2,000 patients over a 10-year period at the University of Tokyo Hospital. And so cuts would never have even been launched if there was any problems with those individuals. And those individuals were had the same issues that Chris studied uh, in his research. So heart attacks. Um, uh, uh, Chris, what were the four or five
Yes,
stents?
stents and just simple chest pain, like
Yeah,
angina.
yes. But
So
again,
basically, AFib's okay.
Again, what our official stance is, they should speak with their physician first. Again, because we don't know, they may have AFib and they may have something else. We don't know what that is.
Okay,
And so,
I got you. I know where you're coming from.
yeah.
Now on sizing, if I wanted to order some for myself, just the arms and the legs, but I also wanted some patients to try them first. Do I have to order three or four different sizes?
What I would recommend if you order the large size, I- uh, the bands are very much like a t-shirt that could be shared by a husband and wife, where the husband is larger than the wife, meaning that the wife can always wear the bigger shirt. It may not fit, but she could wear it. However, the reverse isn't true. If the wife has a smaller shirt, the husband can't wear it. So if you purchase a large set of bands, large size, it will fit probably 85 to 90% of people. But if you purchase the medium sized bands, then the larger individuals, it won't fit.
Okay, so just buy the large one. All right.
Yeah.
Now, since I get no response from your people, how do I buy one?
Okay. So I don't know why you aren't getting a response. I assume you're in the United States, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Um, I don't know why. I'm going to write down your name and perhaps uh, eh, offline, I can have your email and I can contact you otherwise. I can write my email in the chat and you can, um, I'm writing it down now, and you can email me directly. And
Oh, no,
I just
I don't
put
know.
it in the
I'm
chat.
not sure I can find it.
Ah, okay, let's see.
Or I'll give you mine. I don't care. I'm not
Okay,
arguing.
let me get a pen just a moment and look. Okay, go ahead.
DR is in doctor,
Uh-huh.
Clyde, CLYDE,
Okay,
007 at gmail.com.
got it. Okay,
Yeah, I'd like to order one as soon as possible, but no one's
okay.
responded.
I'm very sorry to hear that. Have you been emailing to info@cuts.com or
Yes,
whatever
sir, I
the
did. Yes, sir, I did that three
okay.
times. Then I left it on two or three different options on the phone.
Okay. All right. I will get it. I will after after this webinar is over, we'll get back to you. I'll get back
Okay,
to you.
one more quick one. I
Uh-huh.
don't understand if you're putting, I see that it might benefit your neck or your shoulders, but how can that happen if you're restricting below those areas? Does
Ah,
it still
oh,
help?
yeah. So this is the um, we put the bands on our upper arms or upper legs to serve as a catalyst for a series of processes in the body. So allow me to explain. So You have the bands on your arms. Blood is going in normally, and then it's slowed down coming back. That actually leads to a buildup of lactate, very simply, in the muscle. You could be opening and closing your hands. You could be typing on a laptop. You could be doing bicep curls, whatever you're doing. You could be walking. That sends a signal to the brain. The brain then secretes hormone. There's several other metabolites that are being produced simultaneously, and those all travel through our vascular system. So it travels from your head to your toe. And therefore, if you have, let's say, a labrum tear, let's say you've have a broken rib, let's say you've had a concussion, then when you do KAATSU, the cells in those injured areas or damaged areas will get the benefit of those hormones and metabolites that are flowing through the vascular system. So the bands simply act as a catalyst. Yes, you will build muscle, let's say if you're doing bicep curls, but in the same way, let's say you had some kind of I don't know, hip replacement or a knee replacement, etc. The bands simply act as a catalyst, and that allows the body to start healing itself.
Okay, I think that does her. If I can get you to respond so I can
Okay.
purchase one.
All right. Will do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Take care. Um, Susie, you're up.
Okay,
The floor is yours.
I'm unmuting myself. So what
Okay.
if there is, I wrote it also, but what if there is some plaque buildup in the blood vessels? Then would that be a problem? Would that help, or could that create an issue that?
Well, there's always an issue whether we have calcium or plaque, or there's some kind of inflammation in the vein, which I would assume once a typical American is over 50, that is for most people. What we're actually doing is making the vascular tissue more elastic, meaning it can expand to a greater extent, and it won't get rid of the calcium. It won't get rid of the plaque, um, but it will allow the blood circulation to improve.
Okay, so it won't knock anything off the
No,
or
it won't knock
everything.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All
Thank
right.
you. Yeah.
Okay.
And can I write in and get that sheet? I took your email down.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Where are you
Thank
guys
you.
located? Where are you guys located? Or where?
We're at so our headquarters are here in Huntington Beach. It's in Southern California, in
Yeah,
Orange County.
I'm in Northern
And
California. Okay.
but Chris is over in Danvers, which is north of Boston, and Pete lives near me. And most of our team is separated. We used to have an office here in Huntington Beach, but when COVID came, we were deemed a non-essential business. So we all scattered to the wind, and then we figured, oh, we actually function quite well virtually. But our products ship out of Southern California in Carson. So if you are in Southern California, the products get to you pretty quickly sometimes
But
within a day, sometimes 2 days.
okay. My other question is there any place to go and try it? Or I'm in Northern California, actually. I'm in the Bay Area.
Northern California, we have a no, we don't have KAATSU centers, if you will.
Okay.
We do have specialists, and the specialists are located. We have many in the Bay Area. Are you in the Bay Area?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Um, I'll try to think of. I mean, the every place from we have chiropractors, we have UC San Francisco Medical School.
Are they listed on the website or something like that?
Yeah, we in fact we're updating our what we call our specialist page.
Okay.
I don't know exactly when that will be listed. We used to have it before um the pandemic, and then
Yeah.
so we well, send me the email, and I'll send me an email with your city location, and I'll
Okay.
try to find somebody close.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, take care. Laura, you're up. Go ahead, Laura. You're Laura Butler. Floor is yours. Okay, we'll go to Robert Morrissey.
Hey there, here I am in
Hi.
Chicago. Uh,
Okay.
I have a Katsu that I maybe bought like 7 years ago, and I
Okay.
worked with it for about a year and didn't see any results. Now here's the two things going on with me.
Hmm.
Because of a really bad case of Epstein-Barr, 40 some years ago, I have a rare syndrome where my hypothalamus and pituitary aren't on speaking terms. So I have to take testosterone and thyroid. That was diagnosed maybe 15 years ago. But meantime, I wasn't getting results from the KAATSU. Meantime, just found out that I've been anemic for 9 years. So, well before I bought my KAATSU. Could either of these situations cause this lack of results with the KAATSU?
Possibly, but first of all, what were the results that you were seeking?
Muscle mass, more
Okay.
strength, and I really got neither.
Okay. So on the muscle mass, um, were you when you put the bands on, were you moving your muscles slowly and in sets of three?
Yeah, I was following the
Okay.
direction, sure.
Okay. And you felt the lactate burn?
No, no, that
Okay.
is interesting because that has only started to come back since I've been on a massive dose of iron. They found out that
Okay.
my serum ferritin, everything else in my iron was fine, but my serum ferritin is very low. So I've been on iron now for a couple of weeks, and guess what? The burn is back. I complained for years to my endocrinologist that I can't get my muscles to ache after I'm working out. So that
Okay.
might be a clue for you.
Okay. When you were using the bands, did you see your hands get pink or rosy?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Okay. Then you may have a body chemistry that, or hopefully it will change now, but you may have a body chemistry that just doesn't allow muscle growth with using the Katsu modality.
Yeah. It's interesting. Since I've been here, we are in the middle of winter in Chicago. Since I've been taking the iron, I'm a lot warmer. I'm working with an acupuncturist, and he said, "Well, that's because you have more blood now." you
Uh-huh.
know, so maybe I'll pick up the Katsu and give it a whirl again.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I would give it a good, 6 to 10 sessions. I
okay.
would, put the bands on so your hands are, pink or rosy color. I would move my muscles slowly as I'm contracting, as my arms or legs are going in the, eccentric and concentric direction. Um, if you can feel the lactate, that is a very good change.
Yeah, literally for years I was like, why can't I get my muscles to ache the day after,
Yeah,
like normal people, the day or the second day
yeah,
after I work out? So yeah, maybe this is the thing.
yeah. I wouldn't give up.
All right. I just was wondering if anybody else has reported back for either of these situations, the
No,
anemia
no, and
or
and, and
the
you have a combination.
yeah, of course I do. Yeah. So, okay, well, thanks.
All right. All right, take care.
You too.
Bill, you're up.
For this for Chris and Pete for maintaining muscle, maybe building a little at my age. It's difficult at 68 to build, but what's your recommended on reps, sets, if I compared it to without the KAATSU straps?
Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah,
And then Chris.
reps and sets, you can be a mix. I mean, it depends on what you're talking about. Just hypertrophy of strength. Strength, it can be accumulated from like a 5 to 10 to 12 rep range at a decent load. If you're using blood flow restriction, obviously you're not going to be up at the 70 to 80% of one rep max, which is the gold standard. But you can get there from 10, 12, all the way up to 30 plus reps. You can get a lot of strength and hypertrophy. And then, of course, the nutrition component is also another variable that's important to look at. With individuals over 50, we all will go through anabolic resistance, and it's important to get a threshold of leucine, which is 2 to 3 grams per meal. So you want to have 35 plus grams of protein per meal. You can also do it per body weight. So you want to start right around like 0.7 grams per pound of body weight. So that's another important thing to look at. But yeah, it's like Steve said, many times, it's just getting that stimulus. You do have to get to a certain level of stimulus, whether it's rep range or load, to elicit that protein response. So you do have to put in the work, but also in combination with nutrition.
Okay, thank you.
Chris, do you have anything to add?
No, I agree with Pete 100%. I think one thing that is interesting when Pete mentioned like even 30 reps, and Steve, I've experienced this my own self, is when I really started to understand KAATSU, I realized, we have this old saying, less is more, and I think KAATSU really lives up to that. Less is more with less weight, but more repetition. So failure, when we think about reps, right, Pete? Failure it can become an option, right? Because we have to think so differently of, oh, this is my one rep max. Now I'm using KAATSU. So what is my threshold? What is my limit? Well, that's what we're doing, right? With understanding. And then when you use the KAATSU cycle, right? Because you go away from this constant pressure to this cycle on, cycle off. So totally agree with what Pete said. And just I think what a lot of these questions on the cardiac side, what I realized is the most important thing for people to understand is that exercise really is what's important. We're exercising now with KAATSU, but when I really hypothesized about KAATSU alone, what Steve, you and I know, and what you taught me, and Pete, we've experienced, is even when you use the KAATSU cycle and you're sitting there passively not doing anything, and you feel the KAATSU bands inflate, well, you actually feel that almost the engorgement of the tissue. So what people should understand is you're actually exercising, because the smooth muscle that's around all of those vessels is moving, right? And that's how you actually are exercising. It's very ironic to think that you're exercising without moving, but you're actually moving the vessels. So it really is coming down to that, where exercise is the most important thing.
Got it. Thank you, Chris. All right, I'm going to answer two questions that were in the chat. One is, would KAATSU would improve circulation help peripheral neuropathy? Possibly. Not always, but possibly. The neuropathy can be caused by various issues. So the improved circulation should help, but we can't guarantee it. The next question is, I've been trying to get answers on venous insufficiency for over a year now. No one answers my emails or text messages. Again, I receive, if you are emailing at info@kaatsu.com, I get copies of those, and I get many every day. And we have a system where we track each one. So I apologize if I've not answered your email in over a year. But I've noted your name, and I will look for your emails. The text messages don't come to me directly, but they do come to our staff. So um, I will, if I can find your email, I perhaps your telephone number is in there. So I will look for your text messages in our system. So I apologize for that. Um, and the question continues. I had an unhealed wound and was released from case in Thanksgiving 2025. So what is that? Four, uh, 4 or 5 months ago. When will it be safe for me to use KAATSU on my legs? I lost a lot of muscle mass when I was unable to stand or walk. I take Eliquis blood thinner, if that matters. I'm recovering from mold allergy and mold poisoning after Hurricane Helene. So you, it's been 4 or 5 months. You can use the KAATSU bands on your legs. Sit down, put the bands near your groin with a one finger tightness. It's important to sit down when you are um, using KAATSU on your legs, when you're applying the bands to your legs. When we stand up, the girth of our leg is actually a little bit bigger. So we want to sit down and have the bands applied to our legs as we're seated. Then, very importantly, use the low pressure mode. You don't have to do anything for two cycle sets or about 12 minutes of work. Just don't do anything. I would do that for a week. 1 or 2 cycle sets on your legs as you're sitting down, relax. The second week, you can start adding um, uh, longer durations, so or more cycles, and you can start adding different kinds of movement. The movement can be simply pointing your toes. It could be rotating your ankles. It could be doing heel raises as you're sitting. I would continue that for a few weeks. And gradually, if you increase the intensity of the work on your lower body, the duration of the cut cycles, and the pressure that you're applying to bands, all of that should help. At some point, and again, I don't know your specific case, but let's say after 3 or 4 weeks, you can begin what we call the KAATSU 3-point exercise. So in this case, you would stand up with the bands. Um, you can do, instead of sitting heel raises, you can do standing heel raises. You can do slight squats, and perhaps you can walk around the house. And so that would take you through the first month. Um, so anyway, that is what I would recommend that you can do. Again, slow, easy, and patient, and daily. Next question is, can I use KAATSU bands when jumping on a rebounder? Our standard response with jumping on a rebounder is to not do so, although we know lots of people do that. Reason why is whether it's a rebounder, whether it's a Bosu ball, whether it's a power plate. What happens is you build up lactate, your muscles get very highly stressed, and what we don't want anybody to do is get their legs are so stressed that you fall over and hurt yourself. And so, what we would recommend is doing the KAATSU cycles before you jump on the rebounder. Do your rebounder workout separately from the KAATSU. Again, we know that people do that, but we want to make sure that your legs and your cardiovascular system are strong enough to do a rebounder and KAATSU at the same time. The next question is, my husband had 2 knee replacements. Would that affect his results? Um, I'm not. Um, if you've had knee replacements, you can do KAATSU. That's not a problem. Um, Depending on his mobility, his range of motion, etc. Um, there shouldn't be any effect on of KAATSU. In fact, it probably can help him. Um, Chris, you've worked with a lot of athletes. Do you have any? And then Pete, you're obviously a football player, so you were a football player. You probably had some knee issues in the past. So maybe both of you, did you have any comments on the knee replacement?
Yeah, no, I've had a client with a knee replacement, and it's KAATSU is actually probably the best thing for that client because I'm able to give him exercises so he can work around it. A lot of them are more like physical therapy based, which you start. But then again, with the lighter load, he can still get that stimulus without that much load on his knee. So he can do a lot more. There's a lot. It's a tool where you can do more exercises effectively. So I absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great.
I echo the same thing. I've seen not only in pro sports, Stephen, as you know, just with the pro sports I work with, but it is for me, it's almost like the old adage, doctor, take two and call me in the morning. I say take KAATSU and call me in the morning.
Yeah, good, good.
Yeah, and then from my own anecdotal experience, I tore my meniscus skiing and had a
Oh,
pretty
that's
bad
right.
hip injury too as well. And I got home that next like within 2 days, I was on the Aerodyne bike with my Katsu, and I mean going from barely being able to walk within 3 days, I have to walk, I have to be on my feet all day at work. I was amazed by how quickly that I was back up and running and feeling better. So I've seen my own experience, but also with clients as well.
Great, thank you. And then it appears the last question is, it seems that KAATSU should lower blood pressure as it expanding the vascular tissue. Is there any evidence of this? We have not done a study, a formal academic study having uh, a control group and experimental group. We have not done that, but for people who have high blood pressure, we have numerous anecdotal uh, cases where they report to us, "Hey, I was trying to build muscle and my blood pressure lowered," including you, Chris. I think you were a pretty
Yeah,
significant case.
I had really dangerously high pressure, and it's not genetic. It kind of came on. Excuse me. And I had amazing results by just increasing my KAATSU cycle usage.
Yeah, great. Um, yeah, let's see. I think Dr. Clyde, we talked. Did you have another question, um, Dr.
Yeah.
Clyde?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes.
Can you elaborate any about a stroke? Not that I've had one, but I think we all have little mini clots probably floating around in our body. But it sounded like you said that the KAATSU does not cause any plaque to release. But anybody got any comment on stroking?
No, I mean the we were also obviously very concerned. That's why Dr. Sato Nakajima, between the years 2004 for a 10-year period, we followed and tested with over 12,000 patients. 2,000 of them were patients that had all forms of stroke, stents, heart attacks, heart disease, etc. And we had no untoward events. In fact, in those 2,000 patients that the team of cardiologists at the University of Tokyo tracked, um, uh, those that had a heart attack, you know, if you look at the data, they have a higher propensity to have a second heart attack. And it was fascinating to find in that in that small, relatively small group of 2,000 COTS using patients, once they start, so they had heart attack, a stroke, etc. Once they had that uh, issue and started KAATSU, the likelihood of them having a second episode was lower than the population in Japan that never had a cardiac event at all in their life. And so it was quite fascinating for Dr. Nakajima. Now, in that case, the 12,000 patients were under their direct care, so they were able to track them quite well. And all of those protocols, all of the stuff, all the information that we do now at KAATSU Global is entirely based on what Dr. Nakajima and Dr. Sato and the team of cardiologists did over that 10-year period. I was there. I was being mentored by them, and we simply took all of that information, all of those protocols, all of those applications, and just translated from Japanese into English, and that's what we advocate now.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. And Anna, I see your hand is raised. We may have already talked, but if you had another.
Yeah, just one quick question. Since
Uh-huh.
I haven't started yet with the KAATSU, do you recommend, like, because I go walking every day for 45 minutes to an hour.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
would you recommend can I get started with my KAATSU bands on my legs and go walking, or do you recommend
Yeah.
slow progress towards that, like starting with 5 minutes a day and then 10, and then I'm not sure if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, yes.
I don't know.
So what in this case, walking with the biggest application of KAATSU worldwide is KAATSU walking. In other
Okay,
words, walking with KAATSU bands. There's no other application of KAATSU that is as common as that.
okay.
But walking with KAATSU is, and Pete and Chris can appreciate it. It's like walking in soft sand or deep snow. It's it takes more effort. And
I see.
so what we recommend is you build up to that. In other words, you can either start off walking 5 or 10 minutes and then building up to the entire hour of walking with KAATSU. And you would always do so when you have the pressure on the bands for 30 seconds and then release, and then pressure on for 30 seconds and release. That would be outstanding if you can eventually get to 45 minutes an hour. That's a lot of work. Um, and so, but you can build up to that quite easily.
So that pressure and release is what you call a cycle?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So the cycling, the bands are inflated with air, and then they're released from air. And when they're released from air, the stress is significantly less. But when the bands are inflated,
Right.
the effort is greater.
Yeah. So that hence the taking it gradual until
Yes,
you get used to that.
correct.
And the same with the armbands. Would that be more gradual, or could that be
Well, the difference in the arms versus the legs is when we're walking, we've got all this body weight that we need to carry. Depending on the type of upper body workout that you do, you could do something like uh, let's say a push-ups, which is again you're pushing up your body weight. Now you could do push-ups at an angle, let's say wall push-ups,
right? Mhm.
or something to make it easier. So it just, we all have to listen to our body, and you will feel the stress on the body, and then you modify the activity based on what your body is telling you.
I appreciate it. And then I was just thinking in my mind, if I could, graduate eventually to 35 minutes a day, or 35 in the morning and 35 in the evening without exercising in the evening, just having them on. Is that a good idea?
That's a very good idea.
Okay.
Extremely good idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
So twice a day to work up to that would be plenty.
Yeah, plenty.
Okay. Or
That
maybe or
what you're
20
what
and
you're
20.
talking about is exactly what I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Or maybe
Uh,
20 and 20 if I'm not that ambitious, but
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, if you take off a day, it's okay.
Yeah, I was thinking about 5 days a week with that. So
Yeah.
with that regime, that would work. Okay.
Very good.
All right.
Very
Well,
good.
thank you very much. Thank you for all your
Okay.
time, all of you,
Okay, no problem.
expertise.
And then we have a few more questions that just came into the chat. I thought doing more than one session at a time was not recommended. Can you clarify that? Yeah, we only do one session at a time. If you're talking about uh, more than one session per day, there are many people who do more than one session per day. Now, the sessions are different. For example, you may have one session when you're active and one session later in the day when you're in a sedentary position. Um, is that your question? Chris, do you think I may have misunderstood that question? Eh, The question
Yeah,
is, I thought,
and Stanley has three questions in a row, so it kind of, if you connect those, it'll make more
uh-huh,
sense.
okay. Um, okay, let's see. You have just mentioned doing an hour with the last caller. Yes, that's what we mentioned. So she walks for about an hour. When you do the KAATSU cycle, again, not the KAATSU constant, when you do the KAATSU cycle, your exercise duration can expand. When you do the KAATSU pressure on low, you can expand the duration of your session. Um, okay, and then Stanley also said, I've also been waiting on answers and protocols. Um, I don't I don't see Stanley, if you can repost your questions, I can address them.
It could be that Stanley sent to our info, Stephen.
Okay. Uh, okay. I will write down your name and I will look um, for your email. Okay. Next one is how can I find someone online to work with me? I'm 70, female, and have sarcoma weighing 80
So, Steve,
pounds.
Susan, just in the next question, sarcopenia.
Sarcopenia. Got it. We have two very experienced individuals. One is 72, and she's been a KAATSU user for many years. She teaches or educates people on KAATSU, and she's located in New York. And we have another younger um, young lady. I think she's in her 30s, maybe mid 30s, and she's in the Midwest. They both have a lot of experience working with people, older women with sarcopenia. Um, Again, if you email me and I'm going to put my email in the chat. Um, then I can connect you with those two ladies, and um, you can follow up with them. Um, Pete, I know you have to go. Um,
Yeah, Steve, we actually lost Pete. So just for everyone,
okay, okay, all right.
Pete has a newborn.
Yes,
And he was actually on daddy duty tonight. So we had the pleasure of having at least join us for that first hour and hour and 75 or hour and a half or
yeah,
so.
yeah. And then Susie, let's see, Susie raised her. Go ahead, Susie. The floor is yours.
Yeah, sorry. I realized when you said you put the email in the chat, I realized it wasn't coming into the transcript, so I didn't look in the chat. Sorry. I thought you had
Uh,
to say your email to get it in the transcript. But
Sorry.
I'll look at the chat because I do want to have that. All I've got is
Okay.
so the info one is not your email.
I
That's
get copies of it,
yeah.
yes.
But you have another one too.
But I have my own, which
Okay.
is my name, Stephen, which is up on the screen, dot Munatones at katsu.com.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
can email there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think those are all the questions, Chris. Um, and thank you very
Yes.
much for your time.
Thank you very
And
much.
Well, pleasure.
yeah, and
Stephen, we did have one question that I
uh,
answered for us. Somebody had asked, both Pete and I, once we have everything finalized, we'll have all of this will be on our website. In addition to some of our other research that's KAATSU related. So I recommend to everyone to check out the nerdy science stuff that I like to read. It's all on our website.
all right. All right. Thank you all. Good night. Thank you, Chris. All right. Bye.
Yes, thank you, thank you.